Recent weeks have been full of discussions about video game prices. First, it was Nintendo announcing that games would hit the $80 mark. Then Xbox followed, declaring that games would also cross the $80 threshold later in the year. And everyone's just waiting for Sony to follow suit. And before all that happened, the internet was already speculating about GTA 6 maybe coming in at $100. The thing is, over here in Germany we already have games listed for 80 European bucks, including VAT. Doom: The Dark Ages is available for €79.99 on Steam and the Xbox Store. We have already reached the discussed 80 mark for newer games, which makes it even more realistic that the announced upcoming price hikes will lift new games ever so closer to the dreaded 3-digit threshold. And this isn't the first time I am witnessing the 100 being crossed. Yes, I admit age here. In 1999, Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun was released at an MSRP of 100 Deutsche Mark, the currency we had in Germany before the euro. The rough conversion rate was €1 equating to 2 Deutsche Marks. There may have been others before CNC that crossed into the 3-digit pricing. Still, I only recall the fuss around CNC. So, about 25 years later, the same seems to be happening yet again. What leaves such a sour aftertaste are record-breaking profits of these giant corporations like Microsoft that closely followed the announcement of the new pricing model. And depending on the title, games might also be littered with in-game spending and cash shops despite premium upfront prices. One would expect that paying such a massive amount for a video game would come with certain guarantees, such as no additional monetization or a bug-free experience. However, we have often seen the opposite, especially as PC gamers. I mentioned Doom: The Dark Ages at the beginning. From what I've seen so far, it appears that none of the just mentioned criticisms apply to this game. I have not heard anything about egregious in-game monetization, and the game apparently runs perfectly on console and PC. It doesn't even have a shader pre-compilation step that stops players for minutes on first start, and yet there's no hitching. So from that angle, Doom's high price at least offers a high quality experience. If there wasn't the debatable concept of a premium version with advanced access and the promise of unreleased content. The German publication Gamestar recently ranted emphatically about this practice. Even the standard version is a lot of money. For just, in air quotes, €10 more, I snatched South of Midnight and Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Those are two good to great games for almost the same price as Doom: The Dark Ages. I'm no stranger to paying a full price. I dropped €70 each for the last 2 Final Fantasy games on PlayStation, 16 and 7 Rebirth. It hurt my wallet for sure, but I also had a long and great time in both titles, and I was certain I would. But what if you're not? Would I have gambled €70 or €80 for the Oblivion remaster, Expedition 33 or South of Midnight? No, absolutely not. And I suspect many people feel the same way. It is hard to take a chance on a game at such a price. I'm in a lucky position that I could if I wanted to, but even so, I don't want to waste money on something I won't enjoy. Sometimes it requires more time to figure that out than the 2-hour return window of game platforms allows. Maybe the AA or indie scene get a boost from this. It doesn't always have to be a AAA game, even though I enjoy them. I also do not mind games with a more limited scope that cost less and allow me to try out more different titles. I'm curious about how the industry develops and how AAA publishers and developers will react going forward. Gamers will be even more conscious about prices and wait patiently for special deals. The AA or indie scene may even get a boost from this. After all, not everybody is capable of paying these high prices. That is a general fact and even more true in economically challenging times, because it's not just the games that are getting more expensive. Hardware is too, in addition to the cost of living. Thank you for watching.